Hi and welcome back to the next video in the vintage truck series. This is part number 10 and 11 at the same time. I'll only be marking out part 10, but you'll see everything else, and once you see how to do part 10 you'll be able to do part 11. These are the mud guards. I'm making them out of aluminium as opposed to brass because I'm going to spray paint them. Now, two parts. If you look here, you can see that they bend opposite directions. So these two parts are on the opposite side and the curves are on the opposite side. This bends the same direction either way. When you look at the drawings, you can see that they're laid out differently, but essentially marking them out is the exact same in both cases. As I said, I'm going to do part 10 and mark it out as we see it there. Part 11, you can mark it out as you see it here, starting in the top right corner. I'm going to start in the top left. But you could also turn it around if that suited you and mark it out like as if you're going from the bottom left. The important difference will be when you're bending it at the end. So let's get started with marking this piece out. Right, so I'm going to start in the bottom right hand corner, and I'm going to add in some dimensions onto my drawing just to help me work things out as we go across. So we've 6 plus 18, that's 24, plus another 16 is 40, and from there we go to this point. 64 plus 40 then is 104. Also, well, we don't get any more information down this end. If we look straight up, it goes to here. So 40 plus 40 is 80, plus 40 is 120, and then this final one is 124. So that should help us marking out from this bottom right hand corner and trying to keep that consistent. So we're going to start off with the first box here. So we need to come in 6, 24 and 40. I'll mark those. I'll also mark 80, 104, 120 and 124 across the bottom. Now the ruler is going to be upside down because I'm coming from the bottom right, but essentially it's the same. Said I want to mark 6, 24, that's not exactly right. Then I want to mark 40, 80 up here on top, 104, making sure the whole time that I'm keeping the ends lined up here. 104, 120, and 124. Sorry about the noise in the background. Alright, so we're going to T-square some of those lines up, different distances. So these first two only need to go up about halfway. That should be enough. The next one now at 40 needs to be all the way up, and the top half of it is going to be a bend line. I'm going to draw it solid anyway. The 80 is a bend line, that's the next one. And it's up towards the top, so I'm going to dash up here. The 104 is a drill line, and it's up at the top, so we're going to mark that there. This line here at 120 is a bend line. Should be enough. And we're going to use, not drilling a hole here, but we are going to use the center and punch it. So I'll do a solid line there. That wasn't very obvious. Okay. We did leave out the mark for this, but we'll come back to that later on for the fillet. So Look at the holes here, they're up 8 and then another 8 to the bend line here. Again, from this bottom left corner, I'm going to measure up 8 plus 8 is 16. T-square those across. And we only need to T-square the 8 on the second line, and the 16 then we can T-square up to the third line. So we have that bottom section done here. While I'm here, I'm going to punch both of these marks. We're going to be drilling 3.5mm holes there. It doesn't say it on the drawing, but they are 3.5s. You can kind of see it down here. Oh yeah, so we have it here as well. Okay, so now we're going to deal with this section now. So up to here is 10, and it's a radius of 10, so that means it's 10 up to here as well. And this point is 10 in from the side. So I'm going to measure up 10 and 20 from, well, effectively from the bottom corner. So we know that it was 16 to there, so 26 and 36 gives us the other two. T-square lines again. The 26, I'm just going to T-square in over 10mm, so about 15. And the 26 we're going to T-square the whole way across. Always be careful with these long ones. It can be a little bit awkward. If you're having a bit of difficulty, you could use a ruler to continue it on from where we are here. There we go. And we're going to measure 10 in here, as the fillet is 10. Punch that. Now we could set 10 on dividers. An alternative method is to use what we've already got. So I can put the point there, adjust our dividers to the edge if our measuring is accurate. There we go, we have our corner done on this side. So now we want to do the ones down here and the hole. Now there 8 is a radius on this here, and this is on the center line of that as well. So 8 down, and I'm going to do that on the last line. And we're doing 8 from this line here. All of this is waist up above it. So 8mm down. I'm going to punch that. I'm going to use my T-square to transfer that 8 to this line here. And I'm going to punch that as well, as we'll be drilling a hole there. Again, we don't have to set our dividers to 8mm, we've already measured it, and just spin that around there. We don't need to do a semicircle, we want to come back and touch the line, and we're going to use our T-square again for one last time to draw a line from the end of the semicircle down to this line here. Take time to set it up as best you can. And there we go, we have our part marked out. We have the 2 holes here and this third one punched. Just going to shade in the area that is going to be cut off. Helps the drawing to stand out a bit closer, or a bit better. So we've marked out pretty much as we can, happy enough with that. And then we think ahead. We're going to have to bend this piece. Now these two bends, this bend here and the bend that goes across here, are in the same direction. We're essentially saying we're bending these up. But this one here and this one here are bending down in comparison. So if they're bending the opposite direction, you're going to have to flip the piece when you're doing it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to transfer these marks to the back of the piece. So if I get my T-square and I line it up, I should be doing it from the other side. I line up the line, like that. I can get my T-square and run it along the back. And do the same up here. So I get my scriber and run it along the back. I've now transferred those two lines to here and here. It may not be very obvious in the drawing because they're on aluminium. Okay, and that's it. That's that part marked out. And I was busy earlier on, and I also marked out the other part. So we have the two of them there now, ready to be drilled. So essentially I'm going to drill the two holes here, and this one here 4.5, these two are 3.5. I'll use the bandsaw to cut out this section and use the guillotine to cut off the bit up here. far this project has been full of bending challenges, and this piece is no exception. We're going to have to do it in different stages and use different techniques than we normally would. It's not a simple bending piece. So first of all, I'm going to set it to 90 degrees. Right, now that we're set to 90 degrees, we're going to bend both pieces the same direction first of all. I'm going to bend them at the same time. So we're bending along this line here. So line up your pieces carefully as always. Clamp down once you're happy and bend both of those 90. So that's our first section. Now we need to bend at this line here up 60, but we can't do that now, because if we clamp in here and try and bend it, this piece of metal will go into this. It'll crash into it and damage the edge. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to use the edges of the bending bar. So I'm going to reset to 60 now. Now I'm going to bend the right mudguard on the left hand side of the bending machine. So normal situation, but I'm going to do it over here, right on the edge. So line up, clamp down, and bend that section up at 60 as well. Now I'm going to move over to the right hand side and bend the left mudguard. So here we are on the right hand side, same situation, stick it in right on the edge, line it up carefully, clamp it in place, and we can bend it 60 degrees here. And there we go. So we have these two bent using a little bit of imagination. Now our next problem is, if we want to bend at this 60 line, we don't have enough room to get into the bend line. It's short by about 4 or 5 millimeters, so we need to remove this section here. So all we need is an Allen key. And a little bit of time. I'm doing them one at a time because of this being so small, it's awkward to try and hold two in position. And we make our final bend. And we want to put the guard back on before we leave the machine for the next person to use it properly. So there we go, parts 10 and 11 bent correctly, file shaped, etc. Nothing left to do with them except to clean them up for painting. The bending is tricky and takes a little bit of time, and sometimes you'll come across pieces like that you have to think about it and figure out a way of doing it. We could have used folding bars and an engineer's protractor or something to do it, but once you get the hang of using that machine, the bending machine, it can be quite useful and practical. So there we go, both sides of the mudguard's done. Thanks for watching.